little
Oh
Thai
yeah,
birthdays on a Mojo Monday morning. Rick Hale, how are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you. Happy Mojo Monday, Brett Caldwell.
Yeah, I love it. And don't judge us. We are here on Monday morning and we bring the energy and we hope you do too. So um we're in the middle of the Wheel of Life discussion, Rick. And I know you've written a book, and we're kind of breaking down some of the different parts of the Wheel of Life. And I'm excited to hear about your book. Tell me why you wrote it about the Wheel of Life real quick.
Well, the Wheel of Life just showed up in the middle of the book. Honestly, part of it
Yeah.
was a story to inspire, motivate, but also to document, life worth living and some of the experiences I've had as a child and early adult, and even through my working years has been, I want my future generations to read it so that I don't become a blip in time that goes away forever. And inside of that, though, there was a few key events in my life that I think truly shaped how things evolved strategically. And the Wheel of Life was a big part of it in crafting a 5-year future self attached to that wheel, where you judge yourself for today's experiences and where you are in each of those categories, but then project out what does the ultimate outcome look like strategically for a 10 out of 10, and what's awesome. And then what could I do to stage an experience or make sure that I create an environment to best hit all of those 10s that, I seek. And so there was a process attached to it in the workshop that I teach in our offices. And so it wove its way into the book, because inside of each of those lessons was a silver lining. And each one of those silver linings was an opportunity to get better and not do it by, default, but by design. So that's why I wrote it. And the book's called Stop Settling, your guide to your ultimate best and regret-free life.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a slice of the Wheel of Life pie today, Rick. And today is actually probably one of the conversation I think maybe I'm a little nervous to have. I think maybe you're a little nervous to have. We're going to tackle spiritual as a part of the slice of pie. And why would we be nervous to have this conversation?
Well, because because there's so many different ways to look at it. And there's so many people that there are also, it's not uncommon that when people are convicted to a spiritual path, there are no other options that are acceptable. And that tends to alienate. And so I just want to be clear. We're not here to, this isn't a teachable moment. We're not going to tell you how to think or what to do. All we're trying to do is inspire you to keep your mind open to options and ideas that allow you to evolve into that 10 out of 10 in each category.
On your journey of spiritual.
On your
right?
journey. Yeah. Your way and and this is your story, and we're helping. All we want to do is inspire you to script it the way you do it best.
100%. So we always talk about like the Wheel of Life. You rate yourself 1 to 10, and your wheel never looks perfectly round. It's always had some bumpy section. So if this is that part of your wheel that it's a little bumpy, this Mojo Monday is for you, right? And if it's not bumpy, maybe this is a level up experience on that part of your wheel as well. But at the end of the day, I think we would like to remind everybody, we're just reminding you what you probably already know. And we're just having a conversation among friends around, here's a good reminder.
That's it.
There you go. So spiritual, let's dive into this. Here's how I think about spiritual is, I think everybody would define their slice of the Wheel of Life pie around spiritual by how they answer the question, what's the meaning of my life? And how they answer that question, or how comfortable they feel in their answer to that question, defines if they're going to give themselves a 10 or a 2. How do you think people feel about or answer that spiritual 1 to 10?
Well, I don't know how everybody answers it, but I will tell you the way I answer it is, one, I came to the conclusion years ago that I wasn't the ultimate authority and the ultimate power. So I've always sought higher power and energy. And I've had experiences in my life that supported my own perspective that there is a higher power, call it God. And, I accept Christian values as my choice and my faith. But at the end of the day, I think the realization that there are things outside of me that have dictated a historical, experience before me, and it'll be here after me. And I want to play into that best version of me. And so that's the starting place. And so for me, it's a humility thing. For me, it's a recognition that it is as in control as I am. There are certain things I'm not in control of. And when I can forgive myself for mistakes and forgive others, and I come from, I kind of reestablish a moral code, if you will, based on the principles I subscribe to, it just puts me in a place to be a better human being. And so that's the context of spirituality in my mind, is just becoming the best human being you can be and being able to absorb the energy of the world in the most productive and positive way.
Absolutely. And I've heard Gary Keller and others make mention of, are you a physical being having a spiritual experience, or are you a spiritual being having a physical experience? And I think not one's better or worse. It's just your paradigm of how you look at your life. And it's going to depend on how you answer that, depends on how you would approach this next conversation. So obviously you threw out the word God. Obviously you and I share the same values in Christianity, but God means different things to different people. But how do we approach that conversation? I think the first step, and if we're going to break this down, the first step is you really got to make that conscious decision to open your heart and listen. What does that mean?
I think it's just finding that sacred space where you can, honor the energy that flows into you. And I think we all have an inner voice that's really stronger than we often give credit. And so, and again, the idea is not that Christianity or one path is the only path. And I don't profess to know. I just know what my heart guides me to do. And I think what you're saying is be open to the idea that where you are and what you see may not be the ultimate final landing place. And maybe there's an evolution in that experience. And maybe it's wrapped up in, whether it's, to your point, role models and research or reading, or, just create sacred space. If spirituality is important to you and you're not landing exactly where you want categorically, go out and journey through other people's experiences and become a student, if you will, until something feels like it resonates at a level that's where your heart lands.
I think we all in life find ourselves at moments where there's a little twinge, whether I got a twinge in my head that says, hey, I'm out of shape, I need to go engage health. Well, sometimes you might have that twinge that says, hey, I may need to go engage some spirituality in my life. And we talked last week in relationships about the power of mentorships and the power of having peers that are in the same stage of life with you, or somebody as a mentor that's maybe walked the earth a lot longer than you have and had different experiences, and kind of broaden that perspective. And relationships like that are certainly key in helping you kind of navigate conversations like this. But if you don't have that twinge in your brain that causes your heart to want to be open or listen, those are going to fall on deaf ears. And it really starts with you, right? It's that we talk to relationships, it starts with you as self-love. In spirituality, it's got to start with you with an open heart to want to seek. You want to be learning based, or you want to find answers that you don't have the answers to.
Yeah, it starts with curiosity and the recognition that there may be something valuable in the learning-based path. And then when it lands, man, you'll know it in your heart. But, it's an intellectual pursuit that's probably strongly supported by that emotional energy inside of all of us.
Yeah. So step one is obviously that open your heart and listen conscious decision, where step two was you get into action. You imply that learning-based principle. And what's that look, or what did that look like for you?
I mean, honestly, I felt a certain draw towards, and it's two parts. One, I felt a certain draw towards answers and a solution, or at least a formula for why this exists. And it's still occasionally I'll even inside the Bible, I'll read things and go, man, that's a little airy fairy, or that's hard to wrap my head around. But the context, it at least defines a life, the life I want to live and the path that I'm on. All that to say, it was biblically probably based. I grew up in a family where there were a few key people that I felt had a little better grasp of, purposeful living. And I wanted to emulate that. And then when I did, it resonated. So it was really that simple. But, whether it's meditation or, again, there's other principles and strategies that, we'd want to honor, that, our paths, just because ours is a path, is not necessarily the path, if that's what your heart says.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point in time you got to seek information, which means you got to go read, or you got to go have a conversation, or you got to find yourself in a place of meditation, or a quiet place to where you can have a conversation with a higher being, right? And it really just puts you into action around information, right?
Exactly right.
There you go. All right, so I want to go to what this looks like, but really it's creating margin, right? What is creating margin?
Well, if it's important, it lands in your day planner. And part of I think a holistic, healthy approach to life is to, again, when I teach the wheel of life, Brett, I tell people, on the front end, look, if one category is irrelevant to you, cross it off. This is your story, your life, your path. And so if the spoke that's, we label spirituality is important, make sure you engage in the journey and make sure that you at least have it scripted somewhere so that it doesn't get pushed to the curb or forgotten at a point where, one day you wake up and feel like you missed an opportunity or didn't grow at the rate that you chose to grow, or that you chose. And so it's that choice, not chance philosophy. And so the margin piece of it, I think everything in life comes down to, if it's important, it has sacred space. And if it has sacred space, it's probably in your day planner or a part of a daily practice.
There you go. Let me go business on you. So you're saying I need to time block. And basically what you're really saying is when I decide something's important, I want to elevate it to my 20% activities, which means that they're important activities. And in order to do that, I got to prioritize them and make sure they make it to my day planner, my calendar, or find the space in my life that almost guarantees that those things happen. Because I think, to your point, I could have it in my heart to want to engage and learn more. But if I don't be purposeful about it, it's probably not going to necessarily happen.
It probably won't happen. I mean, organic is just not the path to calculated outcomes.
Yeah. All right. So let's say I'm doing this wheel life exercise and I give myself a 5 on spirituality. How do I level up?
It's, to me, it's one is create sacred space, and maybe that's meditation. Maybe it's quiet space, like create enough space that you can actually stop the noise, because we're all riddled with noise. I think everyone would agree. There's a lot of chaos in the universe. And the second step would probably be to, one, let your inner voice guide you to different experiences and opportunities to go and grow. And that could, again, be role models. It could be coaches, and it could be peers. It could be, research, strategic research online. Just Google different terms that relate to what your heart feels it wants and needs. I think if you listen, it'll speak to you. And then, obviously reading, is another aspect of that. And then, time block for that exploration and see where it leads you.
There you go. Well, at the end of the day, Rick, I think we were nervous to have this conversation, but I think we did great.
Well, we just don't want to alienate anybody. I mean, we love everybody, and I love all, and even biblically based, it's love thy neighbor. And that means everybody in your community. And so it's not about judgment. It's just about an invitation to explore your heart and mind. And so that, back to the initial question you asked, Brett, what is the why attached to an experience on this planet? And what I've learned is that the day I woke up and realized that the things I perceive big are really small, which is like acquisitions and houses and trips and travel. I mean, they're all cool, but what really mattered were the relationships and the experiences inside of that pursuit and the journey, not the destination. Because it's often, found that once you achieve or acquire, it's not nearly as joyful as you thought it would be. It was really that the challenge and the potential peril in pursuit and the journey. And when I realized that the big things are really small and the small things are really big, that's when I woke up recognizing that I'm really a small blip in this big ass universe. Excuse my language, but it is a massive landscape. But at the end of the day, my experience is mine, and I want it to be the best it can be. And so it's kindness, it's a smile, it's It's holding the hand of someone that matters. It's recognizing that one day, we're going to wake up on the other side of this, and it's either I'm glad I did or wish I had, and it's probably the small things that are big things. And I think spirituality as a contextual conversation will lead you towards more of those glad I did moments, which is usually relational. It's not buried inside of a spreadsheet or a data chain. It's really a heartfelt, experiential check boxes, if you will, along the path of life. And so the other piece I would want to share as a challenge, though, is if you're convicted to a path, what does it look like to level up? What could you do to take that from an 8 or a 9 to a 10? And who could you share that exciting, journey with that makes it even more valuable? And so that would be my challenge today.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Look, if we said something today that really impacted you guys, reach out to us. We'd love to know we make a difference in your life. And we're happy to be a part of that journey, whether we're a peer or a mentor. And we love you. Mojo Monday, gentlemen and ladies.
Yep. Mojo Monday. Hope everybody has an amazing week.